welcome to this edition of the Evening Review. My name is Jemima Beerkus, your host. Now we have in studio Saddam Amushelelo. He is the NEFF Economic Commissar. Thank you for joining us, Saddam.
It's always a pleasure, Jemima.
So first of all, why Saddam?
Well, Saddam is because I was born in 1991. And those who know their history will realize that in 1991, that was the time when the Gulf War was happening. Saddam Hussein had just attacked Kuwait, and then obviously America retaliated by obviously sending their forces in. So my dad saw it fit to say, but wait, I should also name my son Saddam because I think one day he's going to be a general.
Do you think he's general?
Not necessarily. That's why people call me the people's general. So I think I am the general for the people.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, the general, you're having a protest tomorrow.
Yes.
Can you tell us why you're having that protest? Where did it start?
Okay. So I was contacted about last week. I think last week, Thursday or so. A few guys walked into my office, and then they basically showed me their paperwork saying that the Ministry of Gender, in collaboration with the World Food Program, which is, I think, an organization of the United Nations, as well as a PUPA. They went to register people during 2021, I think at the height of COVID and things like this. Now, those people, upon registration and all of those things, they were taking their fingerprints, they were asked sensitive questions to say, are you ill, what type of sickness do you have, and all of this type of thing. And then pictures of them were taken so that they can be captured on the system and all of that. And then they were promised to say that keep your phones by yourselves because at 12 o'clock midnight, you guys are going to receive a payment of 1,800. So obviously on that particular day, I can imagine a lot of them didn't switch off their phones. They were eagerly waiting for that 12 o'clock. And 12 o'clock eventually came and nothing. So in the morning, the guys were like, oh, but nothing here, what happened? So they went to the Ministry of Gender and then they went to go inquire to say, what's the issue here? Then they said, no, there's just a small glitch that we are busy fixing. The money has been sent. This is now a PUPA referring to communicating with the guys because the PUPA was the company hired to do the payments on behalf of the Ministry of Gender. So the guys went to a PUPA, they inquired about this, and then a PUPA sent them, no, go to the Ministry of Labor because at the time, I think the Ministry of Gender Equality had been under the office of the Ministry of Labor, or they have an office there. So they went there and they went to do inquiries to say, what's happening with the money that you guys promised us? And basically they were told, no, you guys just have to wait a bit. The money is just a bit on hold and all of these things. So 2021 passes by, 22 passes by. These people are patient because they were informed to say they must just go back, they must just go relax. Eventually the money will start getting paid. Now, people started talking because the other regions started saying, but we got our payments, what's happening with you guys in commerce? And we're also receiving our monthly payments because they were supposed to receive a once-off 1,800, and then for the next 3 years, they would receive 600 on a monthly basis. So that never materialized. In 2023, they had a protest. At this protest, they were informed by the Ministry of Gender to say that, no, you guys must not bring the media with, and then they just tried to somehow keep it as close, tight and as airtight as possible so that obviously the media doesn't catch wind of this or anything of the sort. Now, last year, obviously I spent the 7 months in prison. So the whole time they were hoping I would come out earlier so that I could come and assist them with this. But eventually, obviously, I only came out late October. October, I started running around again. So that's why this year they finally said, no, we're going to get hold of you so that you can try and see how we can resolve this issue.
Now, did you reach out to the Ministry of Gender and in WFP as well?
So I use my social media platform to reach out to various organizations. So the mere fact that yesterday the guys were called to say that today they should have a meeting with the ministry already is an indication that the ministry has seen the post. They are fully aware that tomorrow we're going to be coming there. The leaders of the group said that we are not going to have a meeting with you guys because when we were writing to you prior before involving Amushelelo, none of you were responding to us. In fact, you would say we'll revert to you and you never reverted back to us. So now that we have involved the People's General, why do you have a sudden edge to obviously now want to see us and only us, the leaders, in isolation, without Amushelelo there. Because they said, no, we are more than willing to meet you if our general is going to be there. And they're like, no, we just want to have a meeting with you guys alone without him. So obviously it's a clear indication that somehow there are individuals within that ministry who might have squandered A, the money, 2, corruptly used it for their own benefits, or 3, plain theft. So that's why tomorrow we're going to go and ask and demand answers as to say, where is this money that was promised to these people? Now bear in mind, it was for all the constituencies of commerce. Now this is only one particular constituency that is standing up tomorrow, where over 740 people were registered. Now we're basically today informing all the other constituencies to say that if you are also registered by the World Food Programme and the Ministry of Gender as well as the PUPA for this 1,800 and 600 monthly grant, then tomorrow you're more than welcome to join this protest, because you are the very same people who are affected by this issue.
Now, I imagine this will be a long, continuous thing, because if the other constituencies would like to join, some might not be able to do so on short notice. So are you looking at rallying people up around the around the region, and have other protests as well if there's no resolve tomorrow?
Man, I'm hoping that tomorrow this matter can be amicably resolved. Protests, it's not to say it's a waste of time for our people, but our people are already living in poverty. Now we have to walk all the way from the informal settlement. We now have to walk to the CBD just for something simply that could have been communicated and said, guys, your payment is going to be done on this X date. Expect your payments from then. So obviously what we do not want is unnecessarily making our people march for things that they were promised. And bear in mind, no one forced the Ministry of Gender or the World Food Programme to go to these people. They themselves saw it fit to go to the people, register these people, and then made promises that you're going to get X amount and a monthly amount. So these people now have expectations. Now, when you give someone expectations, that's the most dangerous thing ever that you could do. I once read a story where a man who usually lives in the street, he begs literally on the street. And that day, a gentleman comes by, and this gentleman goes like, no, I'm just quickly going to go home, and I'm going to bring you a warm plate of food, because this guy used to live in a cold place. So this gentleman goes home, and then this man, obviously he's there in expectation, and he's so happy. And eventually he forgot to cover himself up due to the happiness. And as he was about to die, he wrote a note to say that, I was hoping that you're going to come, and your expectations made me forget to basically put on my blanket, and I basically died of cold. So this is a reminder to say that if you know for a fact that you're not going to fulfill a promise, why make the promise in the first place? Because these people were already comfortable with their poverty. They were already comfortable with their situation. Now, the mere fact that you come and say that I'm going to give you a once off 1,800, and on a monthly basis I'll give you 600. People will start making budgets. People will, in fact, I'll go and loan some money to say that, please give me X amount so that I can pay my child's school fees, so that I can buy school books or whatever the case is, buy food or whatever, because on a monthly basis, I'm expecting a particular amount. So we should not play with people's feelings, especially when people do not have anything. So I think that this should be an eye-opener for any other person who's going to come publicly and say that, I'm going to promise you X, or I'm going to do for you X. Don't make promises. Rather keep it to yourself. If you're going to do it, then just do it without people having an expectation to say that A is going to happen. I mean, how many times this year alone, a lot of our people are going to be told a lot of things. We're going to come build houses for you. We're going to come build toilets for you. We're going to come pave your roads. We're going to build schools and all of those things. Don't come say things to people if you know for a fact that at the end of the day, you are not having the heart to commit this commitment.
Speaking about that, the president has announced that this year is the year of expectation. What are your views on that?
Those are my views. I'm going to close my eyes, because ever since 2015, we've heard this is the year of this is the year of that, this is the year of this is the year of this. So now, in almost his final term, what are we going to expect? Yeah, we're expecting him to leave office next year. That's about the only expectation that I have. So if that's his expectation he's setting for the country, then by all means.
Now, Michael, speaking about expectations again, you've had a dispute with Rani retail shop. Tell us how that's going.
Okay.
And the workers, how are they feeling at this point?
I mean, it's a clear testimony that we have a government that doesn't care about its people. I mean, most of our labor dispute is a result of, number one, we have an outdated labor law. We've got the Labor Act of 2007. By now, times have changed. We're now living in different times. But still, the labor law is not being amended. It's not being changed. Nothing is being done onto it. We have a lazy, sleepy, useless minister by the name of Utoni Nuyoma. Recently, I see he went to attack me with his Chinese friend when I came out with the issue of the Chinese embassy underpaying our people. He was the first in the front to go and defend the Chinese. But when workers in this country needs his defense, he's nowhere to be seen. So the issue with Rani is to say that the 100 suspended workers are still on suspension. I recently got confirmation that they've now changed that suspension from a paid suspension, which I had successfully negotiated with the owner of Rani, Ali, but now it's been paid suspension, or no, it's now unpaid suspension. So now I'm just waiting for the 26th of January, which I think is going to be on a Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. That's when the court order is going to come to a lapse, the one that's restricting us from going to any of their shops. So we're obviously then going to have to challenge this court order, because this court order, number one, was given in our absentia. We didn't challenge it. Obviously, knowing very well that these guys are almost like the Guptas, I'm sure they paid some of these judges to make sure that this judgment is granted, because how do you give a judgment when the other party is not there? I mean, default judgments is when the other party refuses to go to court and to defend their actions. But we didn't even get a chance to defend that. So you can clearly see that we've got this guy, Ali, who has bought himself a Namibian ID. He even brags about it to say that, here is my ID, a blue one. Imagine a foreigner having a blue ID, because as far as I'm concerned, foreigners usually have the pink one. Yeah. So how is it possible that this guy is able to get a blue ID? But I mean, this is a guy who proudly brags about taking pictures with the founding father. He proudly brags about donating to the founding father's foundation. Sophia Shaningwa is always a recipient of t-shirts from Ali. So obviously, he even brags about that I'm a proud SWAPO member and all of these things. So clearly, we've got institutions and individuals who've been captured by these foreigners, or some of these foreigners. And sadly enough is that our people are going to continue to suffer, because as much as we're going to advocate about some of these issues, the fundamental issues is that the system is broken. And for as long as the system is not being broken, we'll just be dogs outside barking. We'll just be making noise. Sometimes it scares some people, but it's not going to scare everyone. I mean, we're just dogs barking. Wow, 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 wow. And sometimes some people get scared of these barks, but others who know that we're just barking, they just laugh at us.
So, dogs barking. There's an application submitted to register a union.
Yes.
You've just said the system is broken, and there are obstacles when it comes to dealing with these issues. I mean, you feel that the Labour Minister is compromised. So how do you think this application will change things?
No, so here's the thing. The application is merely for me to get a locus standi. Remember, once the labor law is quite clear. Once a union is registered, any union has the right to enter premises of employers. All I want is access to those premises. Once I get access to those premises, then when police come and when the military comes and when whoever comes, then I can proudly say, hello, sir, can you just hush back to your office, because we are dealing with a labor matter here. And this is what it is. This whole time I've just been dealing with labor matters. But the police will send 300 cars, helicopters, their dogs, their whatever it is that they have at their disposal, just to come and stop someone who is speaking up for the rights of others. So the reason why we said we're going to register now a union is just for us to be able to now proudly go to companies without companies necessarily having to call the police on us. Because if you now call the police and I'm a legally registered trade union, on what grounds are they going to remove me from that premises?
So what if it is not approved in, say, the next year, next 2 years?
If it's not approved, that's not going to stop me from doing the work that I've been doing. I mean, I've been doing labor matters, I've been attending to all these cases all these years without any approval. without any paperwork. So now who in their right head thinks they are going to stop the People's General simply because Utoni or his people are sitting on our registration? So whether they sit on it for the next 5 years, whether they sit on it for the next 10 years, we are going to operate as a union, whether they recognize us or not. Because what matters to us is that the workers recognize us, the workers understand that we need to do important work for them, and that's all that matters to us. For as far as we're concerned, we only need the approval of the workers, the approval of the people, and that we have already gotten. We cannot want approvals from an illegitimate system. So that's just mere paperwork that we've submitted to them, and that's about it.
So Michael, can you give us a glimpse into your life? First of all, let's begin with your short stint in prison. Can you tell us how that experience was for you?
No, I mean, so here's the thing. I like to look at prison as a time for reflection, a time to re-energize, and a time basically to reflect on some of the things that I'm doing. So when I go to prison, I don't see it as a bad thing, because remember, I'm a wanted man, and most people do not like me. So when I go to prison, I'm like, for as long as I'm in an environment where I can see what's going on, then at least I feel a bit safe, due to the fact that out here, anyone can pull out a gun on me. I mean, you saw the incident where a guy blatantly pulled out his gun and he wanted to shoot me. So I take it as a time for me to go just sit down, reflect, and see how best I can continue fighting for our people. But it's not something that I enjoy, because my liberty gets taken away. I'm a family man. My wife, every night, obviously, she's not able to be with me. In the morning, she has to walk a long way just to come and visit me. And then it's just for a short 30 minutes or 25 minutes. And then she has to go back home. Now, what's the worst part is that last year, my wife had a stroke. And while I was in prison, obviously, I'm unable to support my wife. I'm unable to run around and so forth. I asked the public to say, can someone please, even just doctors, clinics or whatever, please help my wife? She never got help. Now, as much as that made me angry while I was there in prison, I still find myself fighting for the very same people who could not assist me in my very time of need. Now, that speaks volume to the type of person that I am. It speaks volume to my character. Now, I'm not going to stop because I did not get that assistance that I wanted from the people, or whatever the case is. But it's a reflection for me to say that obviously, people do not understand what it is that I'm trying to do now. But 20 years, 30 years from now, that's when people are going to be like, aha, who's this guy Thomas Sankara? Because in the 4 years that Thomas Sankara was the president of Burkina Faso, no one understood what he's trying to do. But today, every young man wants to put on a red star. He wants to be a general because of what? Because of what he did. So what I'm planting right now are seeds for the future. Because one day, young people are going to start doing research. And they're going to do research and find out that there was a young man by the name of Saddam Amushelelo who tried his level best to change the system. But the system eventually did not want to change because the people did not realize that they were living in a broken system. Because for as long as people do not see that the system is broken, then people are not going to see anything wrong. People do not see anything wrong with the fact that children have to be taught in classrooms where they have to sit under bricks, in a mud hut. No one sees anything wrong with that. Everyone sees that everything is fine. At least they are being taught. At least they have a teacher. But no one realizes that the system is broken. And for as long as the people are ignorant, there is a saying that says that ignorant is poverty. And that's why most of our people are living in poverty, due to the mere fact that we are ignorant.
I thought it was bliss.
No. It's poverty.
So let's go to Saddam Amushelelo at the age of 16, 17. What did that person look like?
Man, I was in high school, Concordia College, selling stockies, lollipops. Very focused, young man. My focus was just making sure that those lollipops are finished for the day. And once they're finished, then basically go read a bit of my books. But I didn't have much an interest in school for some or other reason. I knew for a fact that once I started making that money from selling lollipops, I knew already to say that one day I want to be a very rich guy, because those coins used to make me feel very wealthy. Especially once you've got the $50 coins in your pocket, yo. That weight, I felt like I had gold. So I was like, yo, one day I want to have real gold in my pocket. So it literally propelled me to work hard, to basically just focus on becoming successful. And that's why at a very tender age, I became a very successful entrepreneur.
So when did you know that you were an activist?
My whole life. So here's the thing. I think it's part of the upbringing, because I grew up with my stepmom and my dad. Now, I was literally being shared among my mom and my dad. So I'd be in Windhoek, because this is where I used to go to school, with my dad, and then holidays, immediately I get sent to the north. Now, obviously, when I get to the north, I miss my mom. I'm now able to act as a spoiled brat and all of these things, because with your stepmom, you have to be a strict child, because obviously you know that you can't do things that a normal child does because you're living with your stepmom. So from there on, I realized, but no, man, why is it that I cannot be comfortable in my own very shoes? So from that instance on, I started sensing that there is a certain level of injustice just within my own family that I started to fight. And then eventually, as you grow up, you start seeing it in society. And obviously, it just became a thing where you start speaking up on issues. And I, for one, I was never the silent child. Always had a loud mouth, always had a big mouth. At a very young age, I still remember if there were speeches that needed to be given, I was always the confident one. I was always the courageous one to give speeches at weddings, funerals, whatever the case is. Because the other kids were always like, no, I can't speak because they're too shy or whatever, but I was never the shy one. I was as vocal as I am right now. In fact, I wish I had footage of the younger me, because people now only see this version of me, but people never got to see that version of me that was also rebellious, anti-system, I was anti-everything, because at a very young age, my parents were like, you must go to university. And I was like, no, I'm not going to go to university. And I remember having a fight with my parents, and they told me that I'll never amount to anything due to the fact that I have not gone to university and I don't have a degree. And I remember telling my parents, and I told them very well to say, one day you're going to be very proud of me, because this surname that is not known today, Amushelelo, I'm going to make sure it's like the Opa in Dongos. I'm going to make sure it's like the Pukovits. I'm going to make sure it's they, known. Those were my words to my parents. And today when they look at me in shock and say, my child, are you prophetic or what? Because this is exactly what you told us that you would be one day. So there is power in the tongue.
Absolutely.
And I always encourage people to say that, speak life into yourself. Don't be there telling yourself that you don't have the power to speak up for others. Don't be there telling yourself that you don't have the courage to stand up for others. Because on a daily basis, I encounter so many people giving me a lot of complaints. And when I just tell this person, why are you not standing up? No, I'm not Amushelelo. But Amushelelo was just, here's the thing, Jemima, please touch me. And tell the audience that I'm just a human being. No, please, tell them, because most people assume that we are some superhuman beings or anything or something of the sort. But we're just normal human beings. I use the toilet at least 5 times a day. So I'm just as normal as everyone else.
We have to say goodbye to the audience, whether you're real or not. And also, we might be winning tonight. So what do you think?
Tonight we're playing?
Yes.
Yes, you see, that's the problem. Too focused on social problems that I even forgot that we're playing today. So I don't want to jinx anything, because tomorrow, I remember the president called Colin Benjamins, and as a result of that call, our boys lost, so I don't want to say anything.
Thank you very much for joining us,
It's always
Michael.
a pleasure.
Have a good night, and thanks for tuning in.